Hi, Richard.
Hi.
Thanks for participating in my project.
My pleasure, really.
Yeah, we're here in your Alexander Center in Galway. Yeah, maybe we can start at the beginning. So how did you come across the Alexander technique? What were you doing at the time?
It was a long time ago. I was in my 20s. I was beginning to get back problems. And my father, who was a doctor, gave me Wilfred Barlow's book.
Mm.
It was a hardback copy. Yeah, I still have the copy. Yeah. And I started reading it, and it just didn't appeal to me at all. It was very medical orientated, and I didn't read it. I honestly didn't read it. So I just put it on the shelf. Okay. And then the pain got worse and worse and worse. And being in a medical family, I really got the best medical treatment available. I got the best physiotherapist. I got the best orthopedic surgeon. And when the orthopedic surgeon x-rayed my back, because there's no MRIs in those days, he injected radioactive fluid down the spine. And then when the photos came out, the x-rays came out, there were no discs in the bottom three.
Oh.
They were completely worn away, and the sciatic nerve was going between two vertebrae. And he just said, the only thing we can do is we can remove the sciatic nerve bit, take it away, and fuse all the discs. He said, you won't be able to move very well or bend very well, but at least you'll be out of pain.
Mm.
And I was experiencing so much pain those days that I decided that I would go for the operation, until my father told me, whatever you do, don't have it, because I see the people afterwards. He was a GP.
Okay.
So then I went on this amazing discovery of all the alternative therapies, metamorphic technique, Bowen technique, acupuncture, homeopathy, you name it, I did it. And none of it made any difference whatsoever.
Mm.
And then I just happened to move house into a place where the landlord was an Alexander teacher. Okay?
So it's complete by accident. Yeah.
And even though I read the book, I really didn't know much about it. And he said, have you heard of it? And I said, well, little, but I don't know. And he was Scottish. So I really liked the place, and I took the room, but then I told him that I had a back problem. I couldn't lift, anything. He said, well, come in the room. I'll tell you all about it. And he went an hour and a half explaining what the technique was. AO joints, faulty sensory appreciation, you name it, all the jargon. And I just thought, well, I like the room, but I had no idea what that person was talking about. If he'd been Chinese, it wouldn't have made any difference. So anyway, I moved into the house, and later on he tried to do the same thing about a few weeks later. But his girlfriend was there, who was also an Alexander teacher, and she could see that he was confusing me. And so she said, just come next door and I'll show you. And she took me next door, and she sat me in a chair. And the first thing she said to me, before even hands-on or anything, she said, do you always sit like that? And I'm saying, sit like what? I said, sit like what? She said, well, you're leaning right over to the left, and your body's twisted to the right. And I said, I began to argue with her. I said, no, I'm not. I'm straight. So she just got a mirror in front of me, and I could really see what she was talking about. Anyway, she just came behind me, and at the time, I would say she was just very gently fiddling around with my head. That's what it felt like. And two things happened. One is I felt like I was falling off the chair this way. And the other thing that happened was more interesting. The pain left for the first time in 7 years.
Oh,
the first time I got relief from pain. And I was so curious about what was it, okay? So I had a few more lessons with her and the first teacher. And on the third lesson, after the third lesson, I was walking out the lesson, and it just hit me. My previous job was a driving instructor. So when you're teaching people to drive, you have to do this to make sure they're looking in the mirror.
Yeah.
Okay? It was in London, so it was on the left-hand side of the road. So I realized that this has just become a habit. So I was eating my food like it, watching TV like it. It was just a habit. And when I realized that, I became much more vigilant about it. And then within about 3 months, all the pain completely left. It was really, for me, a miracle at the time. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So immediately I thought, there must be millions of people like me going around with habits of leaning to one side, causing pain, going to a chiropractor, being clicked back into place, and then going back into the habit.
Yeah.
And what amazed me also was I had been to up to maybe 100 therapists and doctors, and not one of them had mentioned anything about me leaning to the left. Not once.
Amazing.
Yeah, including my father, and he was a very good doctor, but he hadn't seen it. He hadn't seen what was going on. So I just thought I just really wanted to help other people like myself. That's why I trained to be a teacher.
Okay, that's and when did you decide that? Right away or after?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, immediately. Immediately, the pain went. I had lessons for 3 months. The guy was living in the same house, so it's very easy.
Mm-hmm.
And after 3 months, I decided I would like to train. And he had come from the training course in Totnes, so he told me about. I didn't know about the other training courses. I knew there's 1 or 2 in London who had long waiting lists, about 8 or 9 years. So I just said, I don't want to wait 8 or 9 years.
Wow.
So I had to wait 2 years. I had to wait 2 years for the one down in Totnes. It was very popular at the time.
When was that?
That was 1984. So I started training in 1986. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And who was the head of training?
The head of training was the Haas, Jorn Ha, Jan Ha. And then that training course split into 2, and half of us left. And then we trained with Paul Collins and Trish Hemingway. Yeah. And then we went back with Jorn Ha, but we got lots of visiting teachers like Misha Magadov, Chris Stevens, Rafia Sachs, so that was interesting too.
Can you tell me a little bit about your experience in the training?
It was nonsense. It was absolute nonsense. I remember going to the first kind of party, the Alexander party, and people could bring their partners and families. So I was sitting there and I was talking to this guy, and I said, "What do you do?" And he said, "Well, I do IT, I'm computers." And he asked me what I did. And I said, "Oh, I've just started the Alexander Technique training course." And he went like this, "Oh, you don't look like an Alexander Drayton." And I said, "Well, what do Alexander students look like?" This is amazing. I said, "What do they look like?" They said, "They look like they're riding a bicycle without a saddle." and I made a decision at that moment in time that I didn't want to look like that. But that's what people were becoming. They were becoming very, at that time, I think it changed over the years. But that time, it's almost like this, and they got up like this, and they moved like Alexandroids. That's what they moved like. So I was a bit of a rebel throughout my whole training, and I didn't just take everything per se. Yeah.
And but the training was very much like that.
There was 1 hour of hands on the back of the chair.
Oh wow!
Every day, from 10 to 11, standing there, hands on the back of the chair, without any description of what it was for or what you should be doing. Just like do this, do this, do this, but no reasoning.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
And how did your back react to that?
Well, you say, well, why are we doing this? You get different answers from different people.
Yeah.
So it's very confusing. Very confusing. So when I trained, I didn't know what it was for, so I never taught it until maybe 30 years into my, after training, I realized there was one teacher called Jean Do, and he explained what it was about. He actually explained what it was about. It was about amazing.
And before that, nobody explained it properly.
No, not only that, but they weren't doing it like Alexander did it in the book. They were missing a crucial bit out. The crucial bit that's in block capitals in CCC, Contractive Conscious Control. It says, support the body with the arms. That means you come forward as you're putting hands on. And what happens is, as you come forward and put a little bit of weight on the chair, that sends you back up again. And it's for releasing up in the front. It's for the pull down.
Yeah.
And I could have definitely done with that, because all my schooling I've been, and then driving instructor. So I could have really done with it, but I didn't know what it was for. So I as soon as I started teaching, and through the books as well, my main thing is to explain very in simple terms what the work is about.
Yeah.
Because it sometimes gets lost in something. Yeah. It's very simple. It's like we have habits. So those habits are causing problems. We need to know about them and eradicate the habits that are causing the problem. It's that simple.
Well, sometimes the cause is a little bit more hidden than in other cases. So.
Yeah. But Alexander said that too. He said, the trouble with my technique, it's too simple. It's too simple. Yeah.
So your mission is to simplify.
My mission is to help people in pain, and to simplify and make it understandable. Because at the moment, I think Alexander's technique is getting smaller and smaller, and it's at the time that the world needs it more than ever before.
Oh, that's very true.
Yeah. So it doesn't make sense. But I don't think people kind of understand what the work is about.
Yeah.
They think it's about sitting up straight.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we're not getting our message over into the world.
That's true.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I think 99% of what is taught in the name of the Alexander technique is pure nonsense, but 1% is absolute. It's diamond. It's gold. It's precious. It's so precious, and it's about bringing that 1% up into the world and explaining to people. Yeah.
So what do you mean by this 99% that are rubbish? The communication about it?
We get so caught up in it complicated. For when on my training course, it was so complicated. You have to do this and don't do this and do this and directions and not explaining about directions.
Yeah.
In fact, most people don't know that Alexander told people in 1946 to stop telling people to free their necks and lengthen the back.
Yeah.
And that hasn't got passed down into the work. And then I'm just reading Fiona Robb's Not to Do. And she said that Miss Goldie, Margaret Goldie, didn't use the word direction towards the end of his life. He used the word decision, making a decision.
Yeah.
I make the decision of putting my foot forward before I get up, or I make the decision of before it happens. And that to me makes more sense. That people can relate to that.
Yeah.
They can't relate to think of the neck to be free so the head can go forward and up, the back can lengthen and widen, and the knees can go forward and away. They can't relate to that.
No. And they would do it, of course.
Yeah. And then in the next book about Peggy Williams, she's interviewing Peggy Williams, like you're interviewing me, and she said to Peggy Williams, what directions do you think are important? And she was trained by Alexander, and she said, "Oh, I don't use directions. I think they interfere with the work."
Yeah.
They interfere with the work. I mean, that's quite a big statement.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. Having said that, I think they can be helpful sometimes. I still use them in some cases, but it's not the be-all and end-all of everything.
Yeah. So how do you use directions?
Well, I would just actually say, like Alexander, he said, most directions have to be non-doing. So I might just put my hand on the shoulder and just say, just think of the shoulder softening, or just start to become aware of what's going on in the shoulder, and see if you can do less.
Yeah.
It's about doing less. Yeah. And for me, it's about quietening my mind so I can really think clearly. Because most of what goes on in my mind is just like this and this and this. But when the mind gets quietened, then I can start really thinking. Yeah.
I think that's also what Margaret Goldie was on about very much.
Yeah.
Coming to quiet.
Yeah, coming to quiet so you can really become more aware and you can really think in a very direct way. And Alexander, I think he said, my work is to sharpen the mind, to sharpen it. Yeah.
So, and what is for you the difference between this sharpening the mind and kind of controlling everything from the top?
Well, because my mind is thinking of so many things at the same time. We are bombarded with information.
Yeah, and that's why it can be complicated if then people try to control everything from the mind.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it isn't Alexander technique about embodiment.
It's about, I think making a decision is a really good place to start. I make a decision before I do the action. Okay? And I was just reading, it wasn't anything to do with Alexander's technique, it was about neuroscience. And they found out that if you are on a diet and you know there's cake in the fridge and you think, I'm going to get the cake, there's something in the brain that lights up. There's activity in the brain. But then if you say, no, I'm not going to get the cake, that activity diminishes. And then even if you go and get the cake afterwards, the brain stays quite still, which I thought was really interesting. Okay, so the inhibition calms the mind, and then you may get to the fridge, and then you may make a fresh decision of not taking the cake. And I think this is what this work is about. It's not, you see, Alexander made a plan at the end of the chapter, Evolution of the Self. He said, I'm going to speak a sentence and then give my directions and then make a fresh decision. Should I go ahead and make and say the sentence, or should I not? Okay? Inhibition.
Yeah.
But then there was a third choice. And that's the choice that I think people miss out on. It was to do something completely different.
As an option.
As an option.
Yeah.
Yeah. But most people don't think of, I'm going to get out of the chair. No, I'm not going to get out of the chair. Or I'm going to get out of the chair and not get out of the chair. They don't think of the third option. They don't think of, well, I'm going to scratch my nose.
Yeah.
Okay? Or I'm going to put my hand here.
Yeah.
And I think that makes the freedom. Otherwise it gets in, shall I get up or not? Shall I get up or not? Shall I get up or not? And it's just like, it's just the fresh decision of doing something completely different gives me free choice.
Yeah.
And that's what we're talking about. We're talking about freedom of choice.
Oh, yes. And how did your teaching approach develop after the training?
Well, I lived in Totnes, and Totnes is down in Devon, and the school I went to had 36 people.
Oh.
So 12 teachers were coming out every year into the community, and the place is not much more than the village. It's a very small town, so 8,000 people. So when I trained, there was something like 50 or 60 Alexander teachers in a very small town.
Oh, wow.
So I thought it's going to be a long time. So either I moved somewhere else, which I didn't really want to do at the time, and I just thought, well, I'd already taught in groups before. I used to teach astrology in groups, and I thought, well, maybe we can start some groups, and then hopefully from a group, I can get 2 or 3 clients. You know, they will know me. So I took one afternoon and I drove around all the little, well, some of them were big towns, and Torquay, Paignton, Exeter, Plymouth, Kingsbridge, and Newton Abbot, and I drove around all the education centres. No mobile phones in those days, no internet. Okay, different life. So you drove around, you introduced yourself, you said, you know, would you like an Alexander evening class next week on your program? And they would say, well, what's that? And I would try to explain, and they said, well, leave it with me, and we're doing the program next week, and we'll get back to you. So I was hoping for one or two classes, and all 10 places said they wanted an evening class. The only problem is there's only 4 evening classes, because nobody wants an evening class on a Friday night or Saturday or Sunday. So I took the first 4, and then I had to tell the people, I can't, I'm booked up now, 4 other places. Well, would you like to do an afternoon class? Or would you like to do a morning class? So in my first year teaching, from the September onwards, I was doing 10 Alexander classes a week. Okay.
That was very successful.
Yeah, it was, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. But see, I had 2 children to support, so I had to, I couldn't just wait for people to come. I didn't have time.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and I really enjoy the classes because it's a very good learning place. Because you would say something that you were taught on your training course, and one person would put their hand up and it said, I don't understand what you just said. And then you would try to explain it, and then somebody else would say, no, I still don't understand.
Yeah.
So you had to find ways of making it really comprehensible. Yeah. And we had the balance board in our training course. So one day I took the balance board to one of my classes, and this little old lady of about 65 said, oh, can I try it? So she got on the balance board. I don't know if you have one on your training course there.
No.
Yeah. They were just
the round ones?
Yeah,
or
it's a long thing and a round thing, and you balance on it. Yeah. And she got on it, and I was holding her neck, and she put her foot down with so much force that the bit of wood went flying. It nearly broke a window and nearly missed 2 people. And I was holding her up, and her feet were dangling off the ground. And I thought, well, I'm never going to do that again. Yeah. So it's a good learning place. It's a good place for learning, fast learning. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so you learned a lot about group work, obviously.
Yeah, I learned a lot about teaching. I learned a lot about, and on the training course, I did do a diploma in adult education as well. It was just a part-time course. I was doing it alongside my Alexander training course. Yeah.
Ah, good. Oh.
Yeah, so that was useful as well. Yeah. So at the end, not many people came from the class for lessons, which surprised me. But what they did do, they signed up for the next class. So I had one class in Torquay with the same group of people for 7 years.
Oh.
And in the end, it was just like they would come in, I would do it. There were about 5 people. They moved from the education centre to one of them person had a hotel. So she opened up a hotel, and I just brought the table along, and I was giving each one of them a individual lesson while the others either watched or just chatted.
Oh, okay.
So I was giving individual lessons in a class situation. Yeah.
So that's how it developed.
Yeah, and that that happened quite a lot. Yeah. Yeah, people who didn't want to finish the classes, who wanted to carry on, and the classes got smaller. So I had 6 people over 2 hours. So I could give them maybe a lesson each, like 40-minute, 20-minute lesson or half an hour lesson each person. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And they kept coming.
And they kept coming. Yeah.
Oh, good.
Yeah. One of my individual people who came, I asked them, what would you like to do today? And she said, I don't mind. I just want the champagne feeling. And I said, what do you mean the champagne feeling? I said, whenever I come to Alexander, I feel so light and bubbly afterwards that I tell all my friends I'm going for the champagne feeling. And I thought, well, if we could market it, the champagne technique, then maybe more people would come.
That's perfect.
Yeah. And the other person I remember I was only a teacher for 3 or 4 months, and this person came who was 95. And she'd had Alexander lessons from Alexander himself in the 1950s.
Oh.
Okay, she was an old woman. She was still driving in 95. My teaching room was at the top of 3 flights of stairs. She got up there no problem at all. She was really like a dynamic person. And she said, when Alexander died, I promised myself I would have 2 lessons a year just to keep my hand in.
Mm-hmm.
And she had this one lesson, and she said, "Oh, yeah, I liked it. I would like another one, but I can't come next week because I'm going skiing." I thought that says it. That says it all. That says it all.
That's a good
95,
attitude.
had lessons over the last 30 years. It was 30 years at the time since Alexander died. And she had kept the whole thing going. And she was in her 90s and doing very well indeed. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you were still living in Totnes for a couple of years?
I qualified in 89.
Yeah.
I left Totnes in 95.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a time where England was quite depressed. It was conservative, and we just wanted it. And I was going to Ireland giving workshops down in Kerry and Dingle, and I really loved it down here. So after a year, we thought, well, we'd like to move here, but maybe I actually went around the world to see if there's anyone else. So I went to America, Australia, New Zealand. Yeah, I traveled around the world.
Mm-hmm.
And then decided that it would be Ireland, yeah.
Mm.
And then when I moved here, there was only 3 teachers, me, someone in Dublin, and someone down in Cork.
Okay, and you moved here directly?
I came to Galway, yeah, in the city first of all for the first year, and then out here. And I had to do a lot of publicity. I had to contact the papers, and and there was one article in the health magazine. And it was all about back problems and how Alexander technique helped back problems. And I got this call from the person up in Donegal who phoned up and said, "Can you send me the Alexander technique pill?" And I said, "Sorry, I don't understand what you mean." He said, "Well, I read an article in the newspaper about helping people's back. I've had a back problem for 25 years, and all the doctors have ever given me is a pill. So I thought this was a new pill." And they had to explain. You had to explain it was something completely different.
Okay.
Yeah. So it was virgin territory, really. Yeah. Yeah.
And did the person come?
No, she didn't come. No. I don't think she Donegal is about 2 hours away, so it was just too far.
Okay.
Too far.
So you did a lot of publicity.
Just lots of introductory courses and yeah.
And you built up your practice.
Yeah, well, I went to Dublin and down in Cork. I went all over the place actually doing courses when I first arrived. Yeah.
So you decided for a relatively small place.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it worked out.
Yeah, it was. I was very busy. Like at about 2008, 2009, there were 18 people on the training course. And I was probably doing about 30 lessons a week.
Wow.
Yeah. Individual lessons. So it was really busy. It was really busy, yeah.
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 How did it happen that you opened up your training
course?
Okay,
yeah. Well, when I moved to Ireland, there were 5 people who wanted to train. And I thought, well, why not? Why not? So I'd done the 10 years. I'd done 10 years of teaching by that time. So I wrote but I had left SATT. I won't tell you why I left SATT because I don't want to get into that. But I found them not very supportive at the beginning. So I reapplied to join SATT because I didn't want to be a rogue, trainer. I wrote to SATT and I said, I'd like to reapply because I'm hoping to start a training course. And they said, you can't start a training course unless you've been a member of SATT for 10 years consecutively. And so you can join, but you're going to have to wait 10 years before you train people. Well, I knew that wasn't going to wait. So I said to them, well, I would like to start it anyway, but I'd like to join SATT as a proper member. So if you do that and you start a training course, we'll kick you out. So there was no point. Okay. So I started the training course for a number of years as it was just an independent training course. It wasn't approved. And it did really well. People really enjoyed it. There were some really good teachers that came out of it. It was based on the ISATT model, so it was 1,600 hours over 3 years, all that. And then after a while, ISATT decided that they would actually approve it. And so 3 people came over from ISATT, and they assessed all the students that had been there, and all of them passed, so they were happy with that. So then I became approved. That was in 2008.
Ah, okay. Okay.
Yeah. And then I became part of the family again. As it were. Yeah. So I never wanted to be, like do things outside, but I just was left with no choice, really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's true. Yeah. And since then, the course is running, and
it's been running since 1998. So it's come out for 30 years. Yeah.
Was the pandemic a big problem for the course? Did the numbers go down?
But during the pandemic, I didn't close.
Yeah.
I carried on. What I did is I got people to move into the house.
Yeah.
So people moved into the house, and then it was more social. We have a table tennis in the corner. In the evenings, we got that table tennis. There were 2 people from Korea, and we used to play this Korean game called Ghost Stop in the evening. It was great. It was great. I really enjoyed the pandemic. And then one person right in the middle, where you weren't allowed to leave the house to go more than 2 kilometers. He arrived from Tokyo.
Oh.
He arrived from Tokyo. 6,000 miles. 6,000 miles. And he arrived when nobody else was moving very far at all. And then in Ireland, there was a ruling, you must close your business down unless it's essential. Unless it's essential. And essential was included in mental health. Anything to do with mental health was essential. And this is mental health.
Yes.
As well as physical.
Yeah.
So I got one person from Dublin coming who wouldn't be able to come before because she was too busy working. I got a family from Slovenia come who he was in the newsletter. His name's Digger, and he was a sport teacher, so he couldn't work during those 2 years. So he came and started the training course. So the pandemic brought people that normally couldn't do it.
Yeah.
And yet afterwards, there's something that's actually happened. Nobody else has signed up since the pandemic, so it's getting smaller and smaller. Yeah. So I don't know what's going to happen. I've played with the idea of doing a weekend course. So instead of having the 4 days in the week, having them over the weekend to see if that attracts any more people.
Yeah.
But something will have to happen, or I'll just say, well, I'll just do more traveling. Yeah, that's also. Yeah. I like traveling, so.
Can you maybe talk a little bit more about your approach to teaching individual people?
Yeah, I think we've got into this as a community ballet dance teacher. You're teaching someone when you're teaching them the Alexandroid technique. I think it's more that they need to unlearn.
Yeah.
Not learn something, but to unlearn something. And what they're unlearning is their own habits. So I think the teacher facilitates being aware, making them aware of their habits. Not make those habits right or wrong.
Yeah.
Not make those habits right or wrong. Because if you make them right or wrong, then it's not a safe place for them to learn. So the habits aren't wrong. There's nothing wrong with pulling your head back. I can do it now. Not wrong. It was me deciding to do it. The wrongness comes from when I don't know that I'm doing it. That's when the problems happen. So if I can, and Alexander said, once you get the pupil to understand that they're unlearning rather than learning something, you have them where you want them.
Yeah.
Okay. He also gave us a prerequisite for learning the technique, and not many people realize it. He said, don't come to me unless you first make up your mind to smile and be happy when I tell you you're wrong. Okay? And I just wonder how many Alexander teachers could you say, sorry, you're wrong, and they would smile and be happy? I don't think you could. Because we're always trying to be right.
Yeah, but then we are again in the right and wrong judgment.
Yeah, but you see, if there's no rights and wrongs, then I can smile and be happy.
Yeah.
If I let go of all the rights and wrongs,
yeah,
okay, then it doesn't matter what people say to me.
But then you don't need to say something's wrong.
Yeah, no, exactly.
Yeah.
Even if I can, and what is right or wrong anyway.
Yeah.
And also, even if I do make what I call a mistake, James Joyce called it a portal, a doorway to discovery.
Yeah.
So when I am a teacher, I want people to discover something for themselves, not listen to me and do what I say they should do, but discover something. So if I say to them, it's really good doing hands on the back of a chair, they've got to discover what is good about it. They've got to discover how it is advantageous, or whispered out, or lying on the semi-supine active rest. They've got to discover for themselves, just like Alexander discovered.
Yeah.
He said, if you do what I did, you will get what I got. And what he did was discover something by experimentation. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's why I try, the training course is a laboratory for experimentation. Think of the shoulder to be softer, and then think of it to be free, and then think of it to be widened, and then think of it being more spacious. Try different thoughts and see what happens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's also how you work with individuals.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. I think it's so important, because otherwise it's not ours anymore. We're just copying something else.
Yeah.
Yeah. And there's an interesting story going back in the 1920s. There's Irene Tasker, who was the secretary of Alexander. So she took all the phone calls and made all the appointments. And Alexander was teaching in his teaching room. The phone rang. Irene Tasker answered the phone, and it's a very important lady, lord and lady somebody, who owned a school of girls. And she said, I want Mr. Alexander to come and teach my girls deportment. Deportment meaning sit up straight and walk around with a book on your head. And so she had to pass the message on to Alexander, and Alexander was not keen. He didn't want to know. But he also didn't want to offend a very important person in society. And he said, oh, Irene, you go and teach them. Now, this was before any training course had been there.
Oh.
And Irene Tasker said, but I'm not a teacher. I don't know. He said, you've been around me for long enough. You know what I do. You just go and tell them the same thing. And so she said, and she didn't want to upset Alexander, so she wanted to do what he said. He said, okay, well, I will go, but do you have any advice? And he said, yes, don't do anything you've seen me do. In other words, don't copy me. Don't copy me. He didn't want people to copy him. He wanted people to find out for themselves.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I thought that was a very interesting comment.
Oh, wow. So she had lessons with him, but he didn't...
She had lessons with him. She was around him for a long time. She was his secretary. And that's what she said to him, don't copy me. Don't copy me. Find out for yourself. Yeah. For me, the Alexander changes. It's not the same Alexander technique as when I trained.
Yeah.
It keeps changing. So it keeps developing, and I keep realizing things that I didn't realize before. And for me, it's now at the moment, and I'm not even saying it's going to be like this next week, I don't know. But it's all about really getting to a point of being quiet so I don't react.
Yeah.
Or at least I choose my reaction. If I'm really quiet and really peaceful myself, then if somebody says something, I don't react. I don't say that's not true. I can just see something and not react to it. and then from that place of non-reaction, I can choose what I'm going to do and what I'm not going to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's the capacity to not react that builds up over time, isn't it?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I think the table work is very important for that aspect, because you're asking people to do nothing.
Yeah.
To do nothing and come to a quiet place and start letting go of all the muscular tension, all the busyness of the tension of the muscles, and the busyness of the mind too. You know.
Yeah.
And then, because we often talk about neck being free, shoulders, but Alexander said it's holistic. It's the mind and body unity. And yet we pay very little attention, not everyone, but there's a number of people that it's become a physical thing that I do.
Yeah.
Getting out of a chair the right way, or walking in a correct way, or doing something.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think we're in the domain of looking at people's habits.
Yes.
Okay. And the biggest habit that I've seen people have, the most common habit, definitely in Ireland and the UK, is not feeling good enough. It's a really big habit that people have.
Yeah.
So if you don't deal with that habit of feeling not good enough, and you go through the training, all that comes out the other end is an Alexander teacher who may be very competent, who doesn't feel good enough.
Yeah. But that's a very old habit for most people.
It's a very old habit, and I think it's probably one of the most detrimental habits we have.
Yes.
Because when we let go of that habit, and I feel I am good enough, then something really dramatic changes in my way of being.
Yeah.
It really does.
So, and how do you teach your Alexander trainees to do that, to come to the point that they feel good enough?
Well, through our training, we've been told, this is wrong, this is right, you're wrong when you say that. Big cross on your exam paper. We don't do it to trees. We don't look out the window and say, oh, look, there's a wrong tree over there.
No.
And this is the right tree and this is the wrong tree. We don't do it to nature.
No.
We don't say this is the wrong cat and this is the right cat. Okay? So when I say I'm not good enough, it's not a sentence. It's not a sentence. We haven't finished it. I'm not good enough to drive an aeroplane. I can say that. That's fine. But when I say I'm not good enough, I haven't. Good enough for what? Good enough to be a human being? I don't think so. So when people kind of realize that they haven't even made sense when they're saying, oh, I don't feel good, it's a feeling inside me, and it's also Alexander talked about erroneous preconceived ideas. This is an erroneous preconceived idea that I'm not good enough, or I'm not lovable, or I'm not enough.
Yeah, but that's not a conscious decision. It is something that's very deep in the emotional.
But it's learned, because I don't have that when I'm born. You don't go to a baby, oh, that's not a good enough baby.
Yeah.
that comes later. So it's a learned habit from my experience of life. And because it's a learned habit, I can unlearn it. And I think as Alexander teachers, we need to embrace both. Yeah. We need to embrace both at the same time. Yeah. And we need not to be afraid to talk about mental habits. People say, oh, well, I'm not a psychiatrist and I'm not a psychotherapist and I should stay away from that. But I'm not a physiotherapist either, so maybe I should stay away from the body.
Yeah.
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 I'm not a
holistic.
doctor.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think they run hand in hand with each other.
Yeah.
And it doesn't make sense to do one without the other.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You wrote a lot of books.
Yeah.
Maybe you can talk a little bit about your books?
Yeah, it was an accident. All the books are accidents, by the way. They're all things that have just happened. I wouldn't consider myself as a writer. Okay. but it is the 9th book I've written. So this book was mainly for doctors, because I thought we're still fighting the system. You know, the doctor would recommend physiotherapists for a certain condition. And some of those conditions, the physiotherapist is the right person. For some people, it's not the right person.
Yeah.
And most doctors don't know. They don't know about the technique. Okay? And I've had a few doctors come to me, and all of them have loved the technique and have recommended the technique to most of their patients. But I wanted to write a book for all the medical people and all the movement trainers, like yoga teachers and Tai Chi teachers, and there is this thing called Alexandroid technique, which can enhance any practice, and also for doctors who, if someone's got a back problem or a neck problem, maybe the Alexandroid technique is just as good as sending them to a physiotherapist.
Yeah.
And in the hope that one day people's medical insurance will include Alexandroid technique, because that would change everything.
Oh, yes.
I've had one person, even 2 weeks ago, who rang me up, and because it wasn't included on their insurance, they decided not to go ahead and have lessons. And I think it's a shame. Really.
Yeah, a lot of people can't afford it to have long-term lessons.
Yeah. So if you could, change the insurance company minds eventually, but they can't be changed without the doctors, recommending them.
Yeah.
So that's what that needs to change. So that's why I wrote the book. It's mainly aimed at medical people.
And that is the last book, or that was the first book?
That's the last book.
The last book.
Yeah, called Evolve to Move. Yeah.
So, and each of your books has a different audience?
The first book was a general. First 2 or 3 books. The first book was the Alexandroid workbook, and that's for everyone, just trying to explain in very simple terms, in a practical way, what the technique is. Then the second book was more to do with, it was called Stress Relief, and it was more to do with talking about the mental habits. That went out of print quite quickly, so most people don't know that exists. And then I wrote a book on all the classes I went to. If I said to anyone who would like to improve their posture, everyone used to put their hand up. So I wrote a book, Improve Your Posture, Change Your Posture, Improve Your Life. Okay? And that was to try to explain to people that the Alexandroid technique wasn't about changing your posture. Okay? But because everyone wanted to change their posture, they needed a different reference point.
Yeah.
Okay? And the word posture had changed in the last 30 years. Because now if you go to a dictionary, if you look at the word posture, it says how you hold yourself. Okay? But when I trained, I looked it up, and the dictionary had a different meaning.
Okay.
It was the relationship of one or more parts of your body to the rest. It was talking about a relationship.
Yeah.
So poor posture was when that relationship is fixed.
Yeah.
And good posture is when that relationship is free. It doesn't matter what shape you're in.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it changed. Yeah. So I just wanted to get back to that original. It's all to do with freedom in the muscles. That's what makes good posture. Yeah. You can see children in all contorted positions when they're asleep.
Yeah.
But they're free to do that. They're free. Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah. And then after that, a book on breathing. I got together with Jessica Wolf, and we were going to do a book together. But then she decided that she didn't want to. So I had already got the contract from the publishers. So I was tricked into writing a book about breathing.
Okay.
Yeah. But I like the fact that, they've all been translated into 22 languages now. So I like the fact that the word of Alexandroid technique is going out to many places. Japanese, Chinese, Hebrew, So I'm really pleased about that.
Yeah. So they were very successful.
Yeah, it's getting the word out.
Yeah,
getting the word
great.
out.
Great.
Yeah.
And what's the next book?
I want to get the stress book, the one about the habits of the mind. I want to get that back into publication. I would rather a publisher take it on, but if it doesn't, I will self-publish it again, and that will go back into Amazon and whatever. Yeah.
And you're traveling a lot to give workshops, and you have created the convention, the Alexander Convention.
Yeah. Quite a few people nowadays are asking me to come, like Hungary and Germany, and I like traveling. The conventions were a reaction to the Congress. I went to Lugano Congress, and it was so expensive. It was so expensive, not just the Congress, but the accommodation and the flights and everything. I think it cost me something like $2,500. And I just thought, I think with the congresses, when I come away from them, I don't remember who spoke. I don't remember the workshops that happened, but I do remember the people I meet.
Yeah.
And the people I met at the congresses have actually changed my life. I met Gyora Pinkas there once. He was one of the first trainers. He trained in 1960s. He came to the training course here many times to treat. And I met him at the Congress, and other people too. But I thought, well, if what it's who I meet is making a difference, why not make something smaller and more affordable? Yeah. So the first two were in Dublin. The first two conventions were in Dublin in 2013, and I didn't realize what I was doing, but I invited a lot of Michael Frederick's friends, Bob Britton, Lynn Charlton, to present.
Yeah.
And when he heard that I was doing, I think he came along to the convention and loved it.
Who?
Michael Frederick.
Oh, Michael Frederick.
Michael Frederick, who started all the congresses.
Yeah.
He loved it. And I think from that he thought of inviting me, and then he invited me to run the Congress in 2015 in Limerick. So I was a Congress director. but to me, the conventions are they're much smaller, they're much simpler, but it's also who you meet there that makes a difference.
Yeah. And
what you learn in the exchange room quite often. That's what you learn, or what you unlearn. Yeah. So we have exchange rooms, we have small workshops, and Mark and Bart's coming next year, so that's really nice. Do some running. He's good fun. Yeah.
And will it be in Slovenia again?
It will. Yeah. Nice. Yeah. I chose Slovenia because it's very central to all of Europe.
Yeah.
Yeah. Where it is in Dublin, it was like on the end of. It's very good for the UK, but it was very hard for other people there, and also the weather as well. Because in Dublin, I don't know what's going to be like next week. I don't know what it's like any time. It could be raining, could be pouring rain. At least Slovenia, it's going to be nice weather. Yeah, it's all at the same time. Yeah.
What is the most important aspect of the Alexander technique in a nutshell?
The most important aspect, I think it's about realizing that you can change your life very simply by letting go of a concept that you have.
And you said you usually don't use the jargon of Alexander, so the jargon of the principles. So do you have other words for that, or how do you work with the principles?
Yeah. If you say to you, well, you got faulty sensory appreciation, people don't know what you're talking about. Okay? You have to show them. You have to show them what that means for them. So when they think they're standing up straight, you have to take a picture of them and show them that they're not.
Yeah.
So they have a really direct experience. I've always done it in learning. I taught people to drive for 10 years. And you tell them, you must look over your shoulder when you're pulling away. So they always looked in the mirror. And I said, you didn't look over your shoulder. I looked in my mirror. And I even looked in that one. So I used to stop them opposite a driveway that was here. And I said, what can you see in the mirrors? And they say, well, I can see a black car. I can see a red car. I said, can you see the driveway? Can you see the road? And they said, what road? And then they looked out and they saw the road when they looked out, and then they realized it was looking over the shoulder that's what they were looking for. They were looking for a cyclist maybe that was here.
Yeah.
They wouldn't see that cyclist if they looked in the mirrors. And I think it's the same thing with the Alexander technique. You have to really show them the principles in a practical way, in a simple way that they understand. You think you're doing one thing, but you may really be doing something else.
Yeah.
Yeah. You see, Alexander, his experience was he was putting his head back. And I've thought about this a lot, and I used to think he was putting his head back like this, because that's what everyone does. When they get out of a chair, they pull their head back like that. Yeah. And then I realized that he wasn't doing that. That's not how he was putting his head back. He must have been putting his head back like this, because that depresses the larynx.
Yeah.
Okay? And then when he decided to put his head forward, he put his chin forward. He put his chin forward. So that puts the head back even further.
Yeah.
And that's his experience. And he couldn't believe his eyes. He got a real shock, because he thought, I'm doing one thing. But everyone's doing it. Everyone is doing something that they think they're doing something completely different.
Yeah.
And once they've had a practical experience of it, they have an understanding of it. And that's what you need in the work. It's not concepts. It's practical experience of all the principles of the technique. Yeah.
Anything else you would like to add? Is there anything on your mind?
Well, for me, it's very simple. It's like I can ask you, or I can ask anyone, notice where your feet are.
Yeah.
And then say, did you put your feet like that, or did they go back like that by habit? And that's all you have to say. And it's not wrong, but you can now make a fresh decision, because my foot, one of my heels is up and one of my foot is going. I didn't do this on purpose, but now I've realized that I can make a decision and now put my feet on the ground if I want to.
Yeah.
If I so want to. It's all about me. It's not about the teacher wanting the student to do what they want them to do. It's about the pupil that decides what he will not do. And Alexander, that's my favorite quote from Alexander. He said, most people will think of my technique as getting in and out of the chair the correct way, but it's nothing of the kind. It is that the pupil decides what he will or will not consent to do. And that's where we need to focus.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's what free choice is about, really. Yeah.
Yeah. Free choice is definitely a good term to end the conversation.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Richard.
You're welcome. Right.